The Apache Fluidics M2M9 flamethrower is the only flamethrower that you can buy anywhere in the world right now that has full military performance. So it matches and exceeds the performance specs in every category of the M2 and M9 genuine US military flamethrowers. This thing is badass. It might look a little bit like an assembly of parts, but I'm actually an aerospace engineer. This thing has a lot to do with liquid rocket engines and jet engines. And it's just like a 1500 horsepower engine on the outside. Might look like it has similar parts to a 200 horsepower engine, but it's just not the same at all. The engineering, the machining, the materials, everything is different in order to get that level of performance. This thing has a 100-foot range, almost 200 foot with thickened fuel. It works it up to 750 PSI. All of the parts are rated to well over 2000 PSI to make that nice and safe. And most importantly, it has a flow rate of 45 gallons per minute, just like the real M2 and M9 flamethrowers, which is what really gives you the performance, what really gives you the genuine feel, and that's what really makes it powerful and so impressive in the videos compared to anything else that you'll see out there. It's almost 10 times the flow rate of the X15 flamethrower, and it's like 50 times the XM42. So this thing is awesome. Talk the science and engineering behind this really quickly because it is super cool. So the name of the game is high pressures and high flow rates. So you need very high pressure tanks. You're gonna have carbon dioxide at up to 750 PSI. Of course, you can adjust that pressure as you see fit. That pushes the fuel down through the piping system, through the hoses, through the valves, and out the nozzle. Now the key is you can have zero flow constrictions anywhere in that path. If you have one constriction, it dramatically slows down the fuel, it drops the pressure after it, and then you're never going to get the flow rate. And the flow rate is everything for the performance. They make zero fittings for any high pressure tanks with orifices over 1/8 of an inch, and we need about 3/4 of an inch. So we have to custom machine our own fittings in order to use any tanks out there at anything near realistic pressures in a real flamethrower. They make no valves with a rated flow rate of over 28 gallons per minute, but in reality, if a rated valve at 28 gallons per minute means it's actually going to do about 15 gallons per minute. So we had to call valve manufacturers, find valves that they don't generally sell, get the biggest one that they have, and then it's a lot like souping up a muscle car, a Toyota Supra or something. We had to take those apart, remachine them, open them up, and make sure that they could do about 3 times the flow rate of anything that you're able to buy out there. So that's super cool. It's a lot of cool engineering, and I'm an aerospace engineer with a master's from Stanford, so we work on liquid rocket engines and jet turbines for a living, and this has a lot to do with those. It took us 6 months of researching, development, and testing nozzles, valves, tanks, everything you can imagine in order to get our first design, which had somewhat reasonable performance, about a third the power and performance of this design, and then several more years of testing, development, and having to ultimately custom machine multiple parts because there was nothing that had their capability and could get the job done the way that we needed it to be done in order to make this as safe and powerful as possible. So this meets or exceeds all of the performance factors of the United States military M2 and M9 famous flamethrowers, what you think of when you think of a flamethrower, and it can be yours to experience.
So what's it like to fire? Well, it is a massive adrenaline rush, unlike just about anything else I've ever done before. It's right up there with skydiving and bungee jumping. The moment you pull the trigger, it hits with this little bit of recoil, and then there's this roaring, almost cracking sound if you have enough pressure in it, and this gigantic plume of fire just shoots out ahead of you, and you feel this wave of heat just radiate down your face and your body and all over your hands, and it'll definitely leave a smile on your face for a couple hours afterwards.
We built this so that you can own it and experience it yourself. You can use it for movies, for special effects. You can use it for events, for reenactments. But it is quite an amazing experience. And just like Ferris Bueller says, I highly recommend it.